And hello, everyone, and welcome to a special East County Sports Report on Wednesday, September 11th. Thank you for joining us on this most important day. And we've got a most important guest joining us tonight, Dave. We wanted to take time and see if we can't hook up with one of our favorites, certainly, and just let everyone know in case they missed it late last year. Joining us on the phone, Dave, is there you see the title for our good friend, head coach Ed Carberry, 2025 Southern California Football Association Hall of Fame inductee, our friend Ed Carberry, who took, of course, Monte Vista 100 wins in his career with the Monarchs, 2 CIF titles, 7 Grossmont League titles, and of course, with Southwestern College, 10 bowl games, conference titles as well, also over 100 wins as a junior college coach, including a pair of 10-win seasons, Dave, for Coach Carberry, of course, a legendary player as well at St. Paul High and at Cerritos, where he was a center, Dave, the coach on the field. So I hope Ed can hear me. We love you, Ed. I love you. And Dave's going to take over with the interview. Dave, thank you for getting Coach Carberry. Want to let everybody know of his induction into the SCFA Hall of Fame. I believe it's next March.
That is correct.
All right, Coach. So, how do you feel about all that? I mean, do you think you accomplished enough in your life so far in 70 years?
I'll tell you right now, when they start talking about all the different things that are happening, like the 3C2A induction is, really a lifetime award of all you're trying to do. I coached for 46 years, and a lot of guys passed through, and it's really exciting to meet with all those guys. I was a couple of times at, like down the street from Monte Vista, there's an Italian restaurant. We would go down there with some of the kids and whatnot, and get a chance to eat and just get some fellowship time. And it really worked out well. And when we got that going, we knew we were really going to be blessed.
And you even, years later, how did it feel to look across from you, just across the football field, and you had one of your better students from Monte Vista and Coach Gary Watkins from San Diego Mesa College?
Yeah, I've known Gary since he was 14 years old, and he would come in every day. We play football chess. Get the little chess pieces and move them around, call out coverages, and they would shift and go where they want to go. And he is an exceptional coach, and is a great motivator, and it's really brings a high caliber effort to everything he does. We had beaten Mesa 10 years in a row. Gary got there, and he's gotten us probably split the last 4. And I told him, you're a lucky dog, man. You got us. Nobody, it's not arrogancy, but nobody wins against us when it's tight. It's some kind of deal where it's inside the 25-yard line, that kind of thing. We seem to just come up with a big play we had to have. We had a good example playing San Bernardino Valley, and the kid, for whatever reason, he didn't hustle all the way through. He told everybody, you don't know, there's 3 to 5 plays that will decide who wins, and they're not going to stop the game and ring a bell and say this is one of them. So you got to go hard every play. And this guy and our guy were both running to this punt return, and their guy let up. and then our guy kept running, and they stripped the ball out. We recovered. We got it. We won the game with 4 seconds to go. And had our guy not well coached and have that I'm going to get it done mentality, it wouldn't have happened. It's the same thing. Victor Valley had one of those kind of games. But we've had 1 year, in '99, which we were big, fast, and strong. And Calvin Barrett, a bunch of guys like that right there. And they were battling it every step of the way. We had to come from behind to beat Grand Hills 1 year. And just, man, that was a great game. Steve Cooper came running out off the field. He was refereeing the game. And his eyes are about as big as dollar bills. And he yells, "It's a war out there." It was just running. Bam, the guys getting beat up. Somehow, with 2 minutes to go, we scored twice to win the game. So, things like that. Beating Bush and Alex Smith, that was a lot of fun.
Boy, that must have felt good. And you say how long you were coaching. You were coaching 1 year less than my father was covering East County sports. That must have happened for a reason. And I know that you two were you caught up with each other many times and saw each other every year, I would say, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. My wife, we get a call from Bill, and he goes, "Hey," she said, "What are you even calling to me here for? He's not here. He's still at school." And that was a funny one. I had a guy, Ryan Ellen, I think, he went from Valhalla or that area of the school. But he told me, he goes, "Man, every time I drive by Monta Vista, I know you're up there out working us because your car is up on that ledge up there by the equipment man's shed. And we would be down there working, watching video." So.
Wow. I mean, there's, I think each one of us, and whether it be one of Ramon's stories, myself, my dad, and even Mike Jordan. I mean, all those people you played against. And speaking of that, let's let Ramon Scott get in here and ask you a few questions here real quick.
Okay, sure, Dave. If Coach Ed can hear me, we're working over the phone here. Hey, Coach Ed, I don't know if you see us on the air here, but behind Dave and I, we've got a picture of you with your arms raised. You know the picture in triumph at the old San Diego Stadium after that first CIF championship against Escondido in a thriller, of course, 13-12. Want to let the culmination of that point, taking over a Monta Vista team, and rising. Look, the second year wasn't great, right? And you had to wonder if you had made the right decision, but you stuck with it. And 3 league titles later, getting that first CIF title. What do you remember about that night and that game and that team, that group of guys really that were around 94, 95 playing in that thriller?
Well, I remember we had 2 or 3 guys get banged up in the semis, and we had, as I recall, we beat Helix 28-0 in the in Southwestern College, oddly enough, and was a guy named Jeff Gillard who was a senior, and what was happening was the game was super tight. Obviously, we won 14, 13-12. And what I got to remember, Jeff, he ended up, his job on this particular play was to get in there and make a tackle or whatever it was. He was a DB. And so, anyway, he screwed it up. And so he got taken off the field and was back out there. And he waits like one play and he runs right back in. And I go, hey, who put that guy in the game? And everybody took like 5 steps back. No one wanted to answer that question. And so Jeff's out there, and playing. And I was leave him in there. He'd been our starting corner, but he did some bonehead deal. And so we ended up at the end of the game. They were in a great position. They had a very good field goal kicker, and they had just good snap hold mechanics and all that stuff. So what happened was they had to get the ball to get a first down, which was we didn't have any more timeouts, so they had to continue to play because the ball, the end of the game was coming up. So we're on the 17, and let's get to the 18 to stop the clock for moving the chains, right? And so there's Jeff out there, and they go after him, and he ends up he hits this guy puts his face mask right on the ball, and the ball comes out. And it rolls to like the 16-yard line. And when Jeff hit him, he hit him so hard the ball rolled out. And Jeff hustled back, and dove on the ball, and recovered what became the game-winning play because he had made that play. He had been focused in. He had come back from adversity and put himself in between the two groups, and that's how we won that first CIF title. And Jeff was awesome. His mom did a lot of videoing for us. She was a teacher on campus, and just that whole sticking together kind of thing. He did a great job, and he made one of those 3 to 5 plays that determine who wins. And I was telling David earlier, you get out there and go, okay, there's 3 to 5 plays. Well, who's going to blow a whistle and pop up and say, hey, everybody stop. This is one of the plays. They're not going to do that. So you got to go all out every play. And that's how we really focused on getting guys better. And that took us to another level right there. That and the fact we had tailback who played for the Cowboys, and what do you call it? Here's Goodlow, who ends up with full scholarship to Texas, and Miller gets full scholarship to Northwestern. The other guys were just guys. They were good high school players who did what they were told. And we had a guy, Matt Robluski, a senior, and he made it critical. God, they were. Corey Ransom was running a just power play to our right, and Matt Robluski slanted inside and cut the running back down to the ground because he beat him like about 5 yards into the backfield, and he just did what he was told. In that game, also. A kid name escapes me right now, but they called him Clean Helmet because the kids did because he wasn't a great hitter, and so politically correct there, right? So the ball is on. Wow, it's on the minus. what it was. I've got it on my head. Anyway, it's 1 yard to go, less than a yard. It's 6 inches. And the ball, and we've got our backs to the goal line. And we went over and said, okay, I called timeout. Went in and made a couple of comments, and everybody told them what the defense was going to be. Everybody going to do this, this, and this. And now they've got a 6'4", I don't know, 250-pound offensive tackle, and he is their left tackle, and Escondido. And so get off on a ball, and this guy's going to go super hard. He thinks he can run right at us. So we slanted behind him. We let him go through, and who made the tackle for a loss? Clean helmet. And that was on the 1 yard line with 99 yards to go. They had made the plays. They were a good team, especially on defense. And we ended up getting in there behind the play. It was critical again. Another one where a guy heard what he had to do and he did it. And, it was just one of the all-time great deals. And so we give the ball to Wiley. About 5 plays in a row, he goes 95 yards or 99 yards for a touchdown to get us to 13-12. But it was one of those truly great moments in Southwestern. That's all I'm just going to go there. And one of us history, for sure.
Now, Coach, and I think I know the answer to this, and I don't think I'm gonna want to know the answer, being from the east part of San Diego myself. As you recall, and I'm sure Ramon already knows the answer to this question, out of all the teams that you played, all the community colleges that you played regularly, Palomar, San Diego Mesa, and your good friends over at Grossmont. Who do you think you probably more than likely beat or had the most wins over, just out of those teams?
Well, I don't know what that totality of it is. I know that everything was like Southwestern was, I believe, I want to say 109 wins, and Monte Vista 101. And it's hard to pick that one out. We won a lot of close games, just games that you would think it can't be done, and somehow some guy steps up and makes the most important play of the game. But yeah, I would say, everybody goes, well, you want to say you beat Bush and Smith, just what the Heisman Trophy winner and number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Pretty good groups. And they had another guy. He was the offensive player of the year in the state of California. Darrell, I want to say Hunter, but I think that's it. He ran 10.4. Bush ran 10.4. This little fullback guy ran like 10.7, something like that. And Smith wasn't going to sprint. He wasn't going to run anywhere. But out there, they also had a receiver who went to Washington, and 3 or 4 guys that went to East San Jose State. And so, in fact, I saw a young man from Helix at the Southwestern game this last Saturday who was on that team. I was still giving him a hard time. Because it just getting in that kind of position and being able to win 209 games and all that stuff. It's just a lot of it comes from my old high school coach at St. Paul, Marion Ansich. He had 364 wins, so he's got me by a little bit.
Now, Coach, the game that stood out to me the most, and I was pretty young. I would say I was probably 10, maybe 11 years old. When they had those little paper field passes, the little yellow ones with the with the black lettering on them that said field pass, and my dad said, you're just going to go to every Saturday game that the Griffs play, so just that's the way it's going to be. I think it was 85 or 86, and I remember it was so foggy. We were playing at Balboa Stadium, and it was Grossmont, and it was the Southwestern Apaches at the time. And I believe, and I know you remember this game, I believe it was a tie, and it came down to a field goal in the fog. And I'm trying to remember, maybe remote. Did Grossmont win? Or no, it ended up a tie, I want to say.
I think so.
Yeah, it ended up a tie, and I looked at my dad and I said, well, what fun is that? And he goes, well, how long do you want them to play in the fog? Do you know how dangerous that is with that fog rolling in right now? No one can see. And I can, because it was Grossmont, that's why I remember those players. But players from Mount McGill, there was Richard Claiborne. There was another Richard Zayas that went on to BYU. Barry Griffiths that went down early that season. And then Eric Rayner, who I think came from Granite, a little shorter quarterback, a little feisty guy. He ended up playing the rest of the season. But I just remember that game. Boy, there was some hard hitting. Those were the not Mike, but Dave Jordan defensive days, and you remember quite a few of those.
Oh yeah, fog was just a second. So we played one game against Castle Park, and no one could see anything. You couldn't see the ball. I walked out and stood on the sidelines so I could hear what they were saying. It was that.
Was that the 2003 quarterfinal, Ed?
No, it was a fog bowl, though. I remember looking up when the game was over, and I took a knee on the 50-yard line after the game was over, and you look up and you could barely even see the scoreboard.
Oh, how about in 2001 we beat the Trojans in the semifinal 21-14 before your only championship game. The championship game lost to Helix, but that one was a Castle Park matchup too. We won that one.
Yeah,
you played them a lot, though. I know that was a regular opponent for you.
Deal. We had we were getting ready. We were playing at Castle Park at Monte Vista.
Okay.
It seemed like we always kind of caught up with them, and a bunch of the coaches from there were doing their thing and scouting us and whatnot. And we had like a weird rainy kind of day, and the score was I want to say 6-7, something like that. We were actually just playing. Yeah, that was it. So 6-7. There's almost no time left in the game, and we threw a double pass, and with this guy, Cogley. Anyway, what's his name? You guys know him, Dallas Hubbard. So we handed the ball off to Dallas, who ran around to the right and stopped and checked it to Cogley from like the 20-yard line, maybe something like that, a lot farther than that, maybe. And he took off running. He slowed down so he could catch it. He was underthrown. He grabbed it and ran it down to the 1-yard line. And Gary Franklin ran the ball in for a touchdown. He had 32 touchdowns that year. He had 5 against Helix in the Bush Bowl and whatnot. So, but it was. I asked one of our coaches, Norm Houlihan. We were kind of stumbling around. It was that same game, and I go, all right, Norm. I look at it, all right, what are we going to have to do to win the game? Because, you come out of the quarterfinals, everybody's kind of lethargic. And so he goes, you're going to have to give Mac the ball, 18 times. And I go, all right. So I gave him the ball about 25 or 30 times the second half. And we ended up in a tie at the end of the game. But we shut down Mac. I remember I was going to make this decision about something. We were inside the 25-yard line, so in overtime, and Paul Lopez, who was up in the press box for us, was a good Monarch coach, and he goes, "You're not going to throw the ball." Or I was talking to David Macon, and David's, okay, coach, I got it. I talked to him about if they do this, we're going to throw the ball, blah, blah, blah. And so Paul goes, you're not going to throw the ball, are you? Oh, heck no. I'm not going to throw the ball. But I want to get another chance to talk to him if we end up having to throw it. And so the next series, we got the ball and won the game. David Macon made some great plays in the second half, none of which were total passing. But we got out there, got it going. 2003, we got beat bad by Helix, and Bush and company were there. They beat us, we beat them times, but
by 3 points, Ed.
Yeah. Well, 38-27 or something like that, right?
Yeah. Did you know, Ed, when you won that championship game against Helix in 2003, did you know, or can you share now, did you know that was going to be your last game as a high school football coach? Of course, you were at Mount San Jacinto the next year in a struggling year, and you quickly turned that program around in your 3 years before coming to Southwestern.
Yeah, I could tell. We had everything wears itself out, and eventually, I knew that. Pardon me, a little bit here. I looked at it and thought there was about 4 or 5 guys on the team that drove me crazy that year, and
the times they were changing.
Oh yeah. We finally just said, okay, that's it. And what do you call it? Mac had 50 carries in that in my last game as a high school coach, 50 carries for 250 yards, 4 touchdowns or something like that. And his grandfather was one of our great players, Larry Moore. He's also a Grossmont College guy. I was talking to the grandpa, and he was like, "What are you doing giving him the ball 50 times?" I go, "Was it 50?" So the next day I get called into a meeting with Paul Wargo and his Larry Moore's grandparents, their actual parents, and the dad and the mom are really going, "How could you do that?" I said, "Are you kidding?" They were giving me crap about playing the guy or giving giving him 50 carries. And Paul Wargo, who played at St. Paul, was the CIO Player of the Year, 61. I played with his younger brother. Yeah. And so Paul turns to him and says, "Hey, I carried the ball 37 times against University of Washington. Nobody gave me a break." So that was, I said, "Okay, Paul, gotta go." And so by about that point in time, I was fairly certain that if I could get that job, that I was gone. So frustrating. But, everything, as I said, everything kind of finishes itself off, and you eventually have only enough time for everything to happen. There was no coaches on campus. Wednesday night, we always have Wednesday night practice, and that night I'm out there putting bags on the 7-man sled because we're going to drive the sled after practice in the dark. And I'm just thinking, wow, nobody else is around here. They're all going to just come up at the very last second, coaches, players. And so it was, as I say, it was pretty rewarding, but frustrating. And as I said, the discipline, you have to discipline everybody all the time. Hey, let's go. We tell them at that time, school started like 6:30 or whatever in the morning. And I ended up, I told the kids, "Okay, this is it. Your grades are not set in stone and ready to go. You're going to sit out the first quarter." They're looking at me like, "What?" Yeah. And so I had them, they had to run, they had to go down to the track, meet me on the track at 6:00 a.m. Now remember, I lived in Encinitas, so I had to be there at like 5:30 a.m. So I got them and we selected, not everybody, but just especially guys that are doing really well and are crucial for us to win. And we had about 3 or 4 guys not make it, so they had to do more. And they found out that one of the things, I don't know if I can say this the right way, but the kids believed that I was going to hold them accountable. And it's funny because there was a meeting, Drew Wesleyan and a couple other people Drew put together a kind of a fun time with a bunch of people who we had played with or coached with and against and whatnot. And but it also makes it look like, hey, I'm going to die here. Usually you don't hear all of those kind of things unless the person's dead. So I went out there and said, there are 2 things that everybody said. One, find a way. They don't care. That's what it is. That's the key word. And the other one was accountability. They knew that I was going to I would not give up. And that's how some of our coaches got that way also, is that they were going to get in there and these guys were going to run. One guy, we called him Crazy Ed McDonald. He ran from in the summer, his senior year, he ran from University High, or not High, but the Helix area there. And then the deal about went to Spring Street, and he went to another street. We're talking about with a backpack and all this other stuff going on. So he gets all the way up to the track because he knows where he's going. He's got to run 6:2:20s after he ran all the way to the school because that's what he knew. He knew he had to do it, and and he was not a premier player or anything, but we were going to make sure that they did their schoolwork. If that's what it took for me to get it done, that's what I'm going to get it done.
Coach, two quick questions, and you don't have to elaborate too much, but first and probably most important, did you and your wife, when did you decide that that was going to be your last year? I mean, did you go through it probably the last 5 years, hemming and hawing probably and saying, well, I should, but I think I got some more in me? Or did you guys decide for sure at the beginning of the season, we're done?
Well, it was
the pandemic got in the way, kind of, Coach. You would have kept. You could still be there.
As far as the answers is the pandemic, and we got out there for that, and we had to battle through it like everybody else. But I got COVID really bad. I'm talking real bad. And then I also found out I had Parkinson's. So, that was the other deal. It's a lifetime. Everybody's got a problem. So, you know what? Do I have a problem with Parkinson's? Absolutely. My wife said, hey, look at these. She pointed out some different things that last year that made me aware of the fact that I had to take it seriously. And so that's when I did decide I couldn't coach anymore. And so, because, everybody goes to the sidelines sometime. And it just happened to be my time to do it.
Dave, you listen to Coach, and we set these questions up not in advance. John his memory back, Dave, from 20 years ago on some of these games. He might forget the players' names a little bit, but the plays, like a Coach, Dave, he remembers like the back of his hand, like a Sean McVay style. Coach, it must have been a little bit bittersweet this past 2 weeks when maybe a little bit of a door closing on your great coaching career. There's still a few of the Carberry coaching tree, but to see one of your great talents, Luis Perez, who you molded in from a pro bowler wannabe, and we're not talking about football, into a very good quarterback for you that led you to some big wins in that 2014 season and caught the attention of Texas A&M Commerce. And of course, he went on to be the National Player of the Year and a national champion. And of course, MVP in both the XFL and UFL big game. So to see him make the Chargers for a few weeks, get that chance, get to play in that preseason game, certainly brought back a little bit of what you were all about as a coach, just giving kids who wanted to play an opportunity, because Luis Perez kind of represented all those other kids that didn't have. You talked about all those great talents like Will Goodlow and Michael Wiley and such. Perez kind of needed your help.
He's one of the greatest guys you ever want to be around. He can do anything. He's got a great arm. He'd go out there and study. He'd take his mom and dad, his brother, and a cousin, and they would be out on the field at Southwestern College throwing routes. He's telling them, hey, you're going to run a curl route, Mom. Hey, Mom, I told you to run a curl route. What are you doing? So that was hilarious, but true. I mean, he was going to get this stuff done. He was married. He's real mature. There's a guy, J.T. O'Sullivan. There's a teacher and a coach, not a teacher, but was at Patrick Henry High. But he and I got together. I took Weiss and JT out to breakfast because JT had played for 13 years in the NFL with 12 different head coaches. Crazy statistic right there. And so,
Gilly Smith.
yeah. So he ends up, we get him together, and then JT tells him, "I'll like a sample, get a fresh ball, take it over to the equipment man. Tell him if I make this team, I'm giving you an extra $500 or $1,000, and because you will never give me a slick ball." Oh wow, okay, yeah. I just thought I talked to Luis about half an hour ago.
Oh, really?
He's been inducted into the 3C2A Hall of Fame. Also, there's this year there's 72 teams. There's 6 guys that are going into this deal, at up there in Visalia. So there's 72 of all the coaches. They're not been around. Everybody in junior college pretty tuned in about what they got to do and do things. And so those two are myself and Luis will go in as a partner. It's never been done before, according to the guy who's in charge of it. And there's Tom Kraft's son, played quarterback. And I'm trying to want to get them all out of my mouth. The other guy is the defensive coordinator for Saddleback. So I think there's I want to say 6 guys out of all those across the state of California. I think it voted on our peers. Just really amazing. But it says the things that we believed in were things that work. If they do it across the board, we just say, what's it take? Work. And everybody, they probably didn't hear where we were, but it's what's it take? Work. What's the feeling? Pride. What are we going to do? We're going to find a way. And so that's how all that stuff got going. And, if you had to look in the bleachers at Monte Vista, stairs leading down to the field, all says, Monarch football, find a way. Monarch football, find a way. Monarch football, blah, 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 all the way down to the bottom of the stairs. But so all the kids, when they went down to the field for practice or games, they get their eyes down so they don't trip. And there we are. What do they have to do? Read Monarch football, find a way.
Find a way.
No, Coach. Just two last things for me. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to you on behalf of everyone that has worked at East County Sports, including my father, but especially the last couple of years where we all, Ramon, myself, and yourself decided that we wanted to do the King of the County, and we wanted to make all the coverage into one. We had covered Grossmont. That was my dad's thing. And I'd even asked, well, why don't we? Nope, we're not going to do that. And finally, I ran it past Ramon and what he thought. And it's going to be a lot more work, but I think it'd be pretty cool. And so I know he feels the same way. And I'm sure he'll tell you, but I wanted to say that I really appreciated the opportunity to be able to cover the last few years of your career. And then I was also blessed to be able to watch the student over at San Diego Mesa, Gary Watkins, start his career up. And then I had, of course, many years watching Mike Jordan. Unfortunately I didn't get to see the best Palomar coach ever, but hey, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm biased, I would say you were the best as far as King of the County went. And I'm going to leave you with this last question. Who were the coaches that you remember and stand out both in high school and in college that you will never forget and helped you win some of those crazy games and those big championships?
Yep. Oh, John Carroll, Oceanside. He's a great competitor, hates to lose. I could see him on the other side of the field just gritting his teeth. In fact, today, 9/11, right?
Yeah.
We played Oceanside on 9/11.
Wow.
Very few teams played the game. We got out there in front of everybody and did a big circle and held hands and sang some, I forget, some patriotic song. And they beat us, they beat us 21-20. And it was tough win. They're just, as I say, they're really good. We came back 2 years later, or 3 years. It was 2003. We beat them twice that year. I mean, that's a pretty good team led by a great coach who wants it. And, you get him out there. When I went out recruiting, afterwards I go in his office and I go, man, this guy here's number 4. Number 4 looks like some kid you'd grab off the street corner and send him out there. Certainly not an athlete or have any size whatsoever. But John ends up going 13-0 or whatever, and winning the CF, his 13th CF championship.
Wow.
So it was impossible to win that many. Oh my God. So that, what do you call it? Jim Arnaiz. It's always fun to get in there. We beat Helix, I want to say 7 of the last 9 times we played. And so I was out recruiting. It's funny, I was out recruiting at an East County school. And the one coach turns to the other coach. So yeah, I remember when we beat Helix one time. I just kind of chuckled a little bit because we had gotten after him a bunch of times. And fun to compete. He's pretty funny at times. So who else? What's Abe Jordan? He was a tremendous competitor also, always yelling stuff. One year, he gave me a great opportunity to coach. This one of the things that I always looked at was, you're going to end up, I thought, I want to make sure I get it back because this is important. I know. When I was still at Monte Vista, I had applied junior colleges at Grossmont Mesa and Southwestern when the assistant coaches positions came up, and I didn't get any of them. It was like, I talked to Terry Davis. He goes, "You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to be the head coach, not an assistant." I go, "Okay, that's a good answer." So, but what it was, you come in there and end up with there's, if you want to see what you'll look like in 10 years, look at a person who's 10 years older than you and has that, doesn't want to go, go to school. And his guys in the locker room, I mean, you could be firing off Uzis back there. Nobody would know anything about it. So having that happen, knowing at that point in time, well, if I'm going to get any good or get to junior college level, because the teachers and the work at junior college, everybody's excited. They fired up. I want to come to school and work fired up every single day. And they just go, 100%. And so that was one of the deals that I felt was, super important. Dave gave me a chance to go over and be the defensive coordinator. It's ironic. The other day, one of our former coaches was over at Grossmont. He's coaching there now, Grossmont College. And Mike, I guess, said something. Hey, you're coaching for Ed now, right? And the guy goes, yeah, I'm going to do this. He goes, well, tell him he's the best defensive coordinator I ever faced. I said, oh, okay, well, appreciate that. And, it was a two-way deal also, because I called the offense and the defense in the games, so I had control over the whole thing, which is what we needed at that time. As it changed and evolved, other stuff came in. But with those two guys, Mike did a good job. What's his name? It was the head coach of Palomar, really sharp guy, super organized and whatnot. They've got it going. So we beat them. We went from getting beaten up like the little kid in the neighborhood. We ended up, one time we beat them like, 5 or 6 times in a row. He was coming off the field. He stopped me, and say, you kicked our ass. I go, oh, okay, appreciate it. Yeah.
Coach Early, coach or coach?
Yeah, Coach Early. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. He's a lot of those guys you have to stay up late at night. I worked the guy at Mark McElroy at Saddleback, is really a great coach. And, who came up and helped coaches. And coach said, if you want to move up, he and I had a very good rapport. In East County, I liked Mark, who went on to coach at Grossmont College, Mark DC. He was the guy who really may be the best DB coach that I've come across. And that's still out of 46 years. He's a tremendous technician and just kids like. So I think that certainly is one of those guys that they get it done. Paul Lopez, our O-line coach on the varsity, who went on to coach at Pelway. He's a guy who came down with me from Orange County. Your dad wrote a deal on the paper letterhead. He goes, third and long. It was a big story about getting in a car every day and driving from Tustin down to Tustin High School, pick everybody up, and back up here to Monte Vista and run spring football practice.
Wow.
So, yeah, crazy. So those are the guys that really made a big difference. And I like Steve Sutton. Wow, what a great guy. I want to went over to him before one of the games, and I go, "Hey, the first guy that throws getting a one back to that is a coward." That was his basic deal with the one back. I wish I could think of everybody.
Oh, man, Coach, you're tearing it up, Coach. You're crushing it. Hey, thank you for sharing your health plight with us, because we know the solution now. Just keep you talking football, my friend. We'll be able to converse for years and years and years. We're going to make it a point to have this conversation and keep these memories with you, because you're on top of your game still, my friend. I don't care what the doctor says.
Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, here's one of the great Monarchs was a guy named Clinton Snyder, who went on to start 4 years as a linebacker at Stanford. Just a madman. Big, fast, strong. He loved basketball. The day after we won the CIF the second time, the next day he pulled down 15 rebounds in the basketball tournament. So I think that was funny, but incredible athlete. Josh Edwards, as I told him, one of the truly great Monarchs. He was a 3-year starter for us, which was I guess it would have been important. And it's funny, we're playing at Southwestern against Bush group, and I tell our kicker, do not kick it to number 5. Whatever you do, don't kick it to him. So the ball gets kicked off or punted. He catches it, man, and he is a rocket as fast as you can go. He's coming up our sideline. I'm thinking, do I stick my leg out and try to trip him? I go, probably not. I'd probably break my leg.
Easy, Tomlin.
Oh, yeah. So everybody goes, you could hear the people, everybody booed Josh because Josh face masked him. Spun Bush's helmet around on his head. So the wrong backside was trying to stick out the front side. And parents were just yelling. Our parents were yelling. And Josh was down there on the ground. I went over and took a knee next to him and I said, "Hey, Josh, great tackle."
Well, Coach,
pretty much.
I want to just say, what a career. And for you to be able to do it that long and to have that many championships under your belt. I know my dad, it's right next to my side. He'd be saying the same thing and then some. And I just appreciate being a part of your history. And we look forward to being there when you are inducted. And
That'd be awesome.
And that'll be all from me. And then if Ramon has any more words for you, I just thank you for coming on and spending time with us. And we really appreciate you.
Well, I've enjoyed making Monarch football in Southwestern College a first-class operation. Nobody has done what you guys have done in the whole county. I don't see anybody putting together, the kind of stories and whatnot, and focus on kids that through the internet has really become important. But you guys did and did it in a first-class manner. And I appreciate it very much.
We love you, Coach Carberry. We'll catch up with you again. And, don't forget, folks, 100 wins at both the over 100 wins at both the junior college and high school levels. I think you can count those type of coaches, Dave, on one hand in this state. Coach Ed
Absolutely.
Carberry, 2 2025 inductee into the Southern California Football Association Hall of Fame. Also say San Diego High School football coaching legend. Let's make it happen. Coach Carberry, thank you so much. And don't forget that stadium, that facility that he helped turn around, when they built that building, and really was the start of the great things there at Southwestern. It was all initiated by, hey, Coach, you must have got pretty jealous. Did you see the pictures of Palomar's new stadium? You had to feel a little bit happy for him, though.
Oh, absolutely. We got a chance to get him going, and it was beautiful. My goodness. So you got us and we call it El Camino and Saddleback. They all have unbelievable facilities. I like ours the best because there's no track. It's just football, and you can get right down on. You're almost like you're totally in the game. So, yeah, it was fun. Ton of fun.
Thank you, Coach. We love you. Thank you.
Love you too.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Send me the link to our conversation.
No doubt, we will.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. And thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you, Coach.
Same here.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. And I hope everyone, I'm sure, was focused that wanted to hear exactly what Coach was saying, was hinging on every word. Might have been a little bit clunky there with the audio, but I think we caught it all, man. And could you believe it, Dave and Coach? We knew of his illness, but didn't, he flat out told us what all of his friends already know about his health challenges with Alzheimer's. But gosh, Dave, if we could just call Coach up every year or so here and keep going for another many years, talk football with him. I mean, that's how we keep Coach engaged. Could you believe he was, I put him on the spot. I said, hey, how about that game 20 years ago? And he was telling us about basically the four biggest plays, that whole sequence. I remember it vividly because of the because of that game, 13-12 against Oceanside. He even corrected himself. He said, "Oh, it's 14-13," and he said, "No, wait a minute, it was 13-12." So it shows that Coach is on top of his game there, Dave. Wow, that was magic.
Yeah,
actually. Thank you.
Ramon, I can't believe I even remember that tie against against the Griffins in that bowl game. Like I said, that fog that rolls in over at Balboa Stadium, it was just incredible. I was surprised that Barry Griffiths could even throw the ball.
And remember, Dave, you've been around the Monarch, some of these teams, the Monarch. Remember, you covered that the lowest scoring CIF championship game in county history. That 7-0 Monta Vista. That wasn't Coach Ed, but talking Monarch football. Do you remember going to that one against?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
7-0. Monarchs didn't score on that day, but 7-0. Remember that game you covered?
I do. After talking to Ed,
and that was 10 years ago.
Oh God,
11 years ago, I think.
Wow.
That was great. Think about it, Dave. So for Coach Carberry, since he is going to watch this, we'll just talk about him a little bit more before we're going to preview every game and predict the score here. Stick around, folks. Dave and I'll get to that in just a second. But Dave, consider over 200 victories for Ed, 101 at Monta Vista, 59 losses and a tie. He went to Mount San Jacinto. That also, don't forget, he also had 7 league titles with the Monarchs, 93, 94, 95, 97, 98, 99, and 01 CIF championships over Escondido, 13-12. You see the picture above us with Ed celebrating, and of course the win over Helix and the Bush days, right? Monta Vista dominated the game and won the CIF title. Then I asked him point blank, could he share with us, Dave, would that be his last game did he know that, and he did. He said he felt it coming. He got the job at Mount San Jacinto, and look, he was from LA area. He played at St. Paul. He played at Cerritos College as a junior college standout. So ends up at coach at Mount San Jacinto, goes 1-8 his first year, Dave. But just like in his second year, Monte Vista wasn't too great, and then it started winning every year. Right after that, at Cerrito at Mount San Jacinto, 8-2, 7-3 before he landed the job the next year at Southwestern. Went 1-6 in that first year, but then immediately started to turn things around. Just some ups and downs, but 2012, 10-1, 2013, 9-2, 2014, the team with Luis Perez, 10-1. At that time, they had gone 19-2 in conference play. Unfortunately, they lost basically the championship game in those other 2 seasons, but they did come back to get a conference title in 2016 and 2017. Another stretch where the Jaguars at that time, Dave, ended up going 26-9 under Ed with a couple of conference titles in there as well. It was really the pandemic that, as you heard, took its toll on Coach and his health there. And at 2021, after that 3-7 year. But could you imagine these type of things that he accomplished? The 10 bowl games, don't forget, and the conference titles with Southwestern. Ed Carberry, Dave.
Yeah, and it's such a for him to still coach with that type of disease. I don't know if you knew that, but my father had the Parkinson's as well. And
thank you. I might have said, but we know a mental, incapacity, deteriorating situation. We know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking of both of them trying to write on their pads or their scorecard and send in plays and or getting quotes. The two of them in that instance, it's just I think the kids he was talking about, he coached back in the day, and the way he played. The way my dad did for a short time that he did, there was so much more discipline, I think. And it wasn't about beating your kid or anything, but discipline on the field, which gave discipline at home. You were more disciplined at home. You were disciplined on your studying and your homework and your playbooks. I think, he mentioned Dave Jordan, and Dave was exactly the same way. It's academics or you're riding the pine, period. My dad would tell me about that all the time. I'll sit the whole defense if I have to, but you're going to be eligible or you're not going to play. And there's just so much you can take away from that history of how football has changed. I mean, even at the community college level, we say it in the NFL, but high school and junior college has changed and is continuing to evolve, even at this point, but just to hear talk about asking somebody about coaches, I think he could have gone on for another hour.
Yeah, and his big influence, Paul Wargo, really, you've asked about the coaches that impressed him and competed against him, but his mentorship with Wargo, I think probably, I'm not putting words in his mouth, he hinted at it, so I think that was probably one of the most influential for him. So just terrific to catch up with Coach. We'll make sure we do it again, man, and keep coaches spirit going with some of these teams. And like I said, Dave, I was watching Luis Perez out there in that final game. He got his chance here. Maybe Luis isn't done here because he continues to just kind of grow a little bit. He's getting kind of up there in years, but just imagine the legendary players. He mentioned the team from back in the CIF team from '95, and I remember I went to that Rose Bowl game where Michael Wiley played for Ohio State, and of course Goodlow was great with Texas. He mentioned other great stars that he had, like Quentin Snyder and Mack, and all those great backs too. So the Monarchs have had legends, but they've all had the man behind them.
And what a treat. I want to reiterate that we had. It was a lot of work, but for you and I to, for me especially, being able to be on the fields, the different fields, and drive over there, and Friday you see the high school players, but then you get to level up, and then you get to go see some of those kids that you covered 3 years ago, playing on different teams. It was a real treat, and then we lost probably one of the better athletic directors from Grossmont and Southwestern.
Yeah.
And
Jim Spillers just passing away.
Great man.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, that was terrific. Thank you. And in fact, we started our coverage of the community colleges this week, so please check it out over on East County Sports. We wrote up the games, Dave. Grossmont and Southwestern got to be on. Maybe this will be our coverage here, Dave, this week. I'll just cover real quick. We're going to preview those games. Stick around. But we did have games this week involving the Grossmont Griffins. They went up to East LA. Want to mention a few guys maybe from the East County, if you'd allow me, Dave, that had a pretty good debut under new head coach Mason Mitchell of the Griffins for Grossmont. They did end up on the short end of a 34-7 loss to East LA, but we did see Matthew Barton throw a touchdown pass in the game. He looks like the man that will be the signal caller for the Griffins here this season. They also have a couple other guys. You mentioned to me, Christian Boykins, the former Christian High player. Also, Keanu Pettiford forced a fumble, the former Steel Canyon star. He also recovered it. And Jarrah Sabanaya was the leading tackler, the former Helix Highlander, with 9 stops. Also, one of your favorites, Dave, and mine, Jaheim Allen, had 4 receptions for Grossmont, the diminutive one, 4 catches. I would imagine Barton to Allen. Watch out. Maybe it's going to be a tough season. I'm right now, Dave, the king of the county, as you have coined it. Certainly it is by far Mesa on top. Give Palomar a chance. Palomar, they led Moore Park this past weekend 16-3. In that game, Quincy Heron, the former Helix Highlander, had a touchdown reception, and Palomar led the game in the fourth quarter 16-3, but ended up losing the game, unfortunately, in that new stadium. It is a thing of beauty. If you want to check it out, I think we put a picture of it up there on East County Sports. You can see it on X, but they ended up losing that game with Coach Early, but Mesa beat San Bernardino Valley 65-0. Dave, Robert Petrick had a 28-yard field goal for Mesa in that one, the former Granite Hills kicking star, one of the best kickers, really, the East County, quite frankly, has ever seen. And unfortunately, Southwestern ended up with a 29-3 loss in their season debut against El Camino. So right now, Dave, in the king of the county, Mesa is a considerable favorite, Palomar number 2. And right now, I'd say that Southwestern and Grossmont may be on equal footing.
Yeah, and I got to definitely figure Gary Watkins, with the couple of years that he's had now and playing the teacher as the student, and now the student is on the field. And I'm sure that's going to be San Diego Mesa winning quite a few games for the next couple of years, as long as Coach Watkins decides to stay over there.
And their quarterback is former San Diego County prep star Jax Leatherwood. So you would expect Mesa's got a pretty good team. They're dotted with East County players. The one thing I will note about both Dave Grossmont and Southwestern, one thing we've always harped on, why don't we have more local kids? This year we do, but for better, for worse. I think for Grossmont it will be better. I think for Southwestern it could be the start of a better type of situation for them. And of course, they've been ahead of Grossmont for the most part, even though there've been some close games here of late. I think Grossmont got one of them here recently, but there are more East County kids on this Grossmont team than I've seen in many seasons right now, Dave. I took the time to count them up, and I showed that 25 40 East County kids and 25 others from in the county on the Griffins roster. So like I said, I thought we would see maybe a little bit more influx of East County players staying home. I think the Griffins will improve. The Southwestern team also had more South Bay players than we've seen in several years. So we'll monitor them, and we're going to write it up every week. The stories are up right now there on East County Sports called Roundup Huskies, Humble Griffins, and you'll find our write-ups every week there.
I did check that out, Ramon. I did want to. It makes me wonder though. So many East County players, yet I don't want to harp on the stadium, but it just all these other stadiums that have been updated, and there's the seating and all that, but there's got to be something else over at Grossmont that's offered that keeps them going to Grossmont College. I don't know if it's word of mouth. My son, Sebastian, signed up for full-time classes over there, majoring in digital arts. And, you know, I guess they got a great academic program over there, but as far as facility-wise, I mean, you've seen how many Southwesterns hosted a lot of those passing. They've had a lot of those trying out the quarterbacks. They've hosted I don't know how many playoff game, championship games, bowl game. I mean, that facility is phenomenal. I'm sure that a lot of the North County teams are probably going to be utilizing the Palomar facility. I couldn't imagine why they wouldn't, instead of coming all the way down here, into the South Bay.
It looks like a place where we could see CIF play championship games, actually.
So, but you know, the great thing is, somehow, some way, Grossmont's still holding on to those. So somebody's doing their job, because to have that many East County football players on your roster, I think somebody's doing their job.
Dave, let's get to the games this week and see what we think after a great week of games for the East County. We bounced back big time as we thought we would last week. Let's start with you didn't think so? We'll talk about number one, Dave, but let's look at the whole East County, okay? It's not all about the Eagles. Let's start with an all East County matchup here, shall we? With the El Capitan Vaqueros taking on the Steel Canyon Cougars. It was a great performance last week for Steel Canyon. They thumped Morris 49-7 behind 3 touchdown runs from John Weaver. Also, he had a receiving touchdown, 4 scores for Weaver and 143 yards of total offense and a good performance. Noah Ramirez, the junior, led the Cougars with 7 solo tackles, so a good performance for Steel Canyon. Meanwhile, Dave, El Capitan, however, they fell flat in their game in kind of bizarre fashion in their matchup just the other day with Chula Vista. Chula Vista returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Then El Capitan turned it over on the next kickoff. The next drive, El Capitan got down to the 1 yard line and turned it over again. They were trailing 28-0 before they started to get on the board. They got Barker with a touchdown pass, 25 yards to Braden Linder. And also he had Barker had a 9-yard touchdown run. And finally, Brady Geralman had a 30-yard touchdown reception from Barker, but it was too little too late. Chula Vista beat El Capitan 35-21. So Steel Canyon's going to be a pretty big favorite here.
So what do you do? What's with the Vaqueros? I mean, they came out of the gate. I mean, they weren't on fire, but they came out of the gate playing pretty well. A fair play on the offense, but then their defense was very solid. And even in their second game, they were solid as well. They didn't score a lot of points against them, but then all of a sudden Chula Vista comes in and they're hanging quite a few touchdowns against that defense. I don't know if it's the 3 and outs that's just tiring out the defense. They're always out there. Maybe that's something they need to focus on. But I think Coach Berner is one of the most respected coaches in the county, and I'm sure he has an answer, but I think we're getting to it's only going to be game 4 now, so it's not the end of the world, but league's around the corner, so we need this game, and so both teams actually need the game. But I think that El Capitan needs to figure out a way to knock off the Cougars that are surprisingly better than we thought they were going to be. I mean, we talked about it the first week. We didn't think Steel Canyon was going to be playing that.
When you don't get in a lot, you don't really know who all the players are, or we just don't get any information. The Cougars have basically said this season we're not interested in dealing. That's what they told us. They're not interested in dealing with the media. So we really rely on the reports, look at the videos, and try to jot down these players. Look, we know that Nico Yara has been one of the most explosive players. We want to, publicize all of his success as well. And
Haha's got a great arm, and
we have to wait to get the stats out of the Max Preps or whatever, because we just, we're not have a lot of access to this team.
And then Kaha's been, they didn't score with him like they did the week before, but again, they had Dream Weaver leading the way. So, I think they have, they're going to win this game, I think, because they have such a good mixture of, and the ability for screen passes and just pounding the ball up the middle. So I'm going to have to say, unfortunately, and unless the Vaqueros just redo their whole operation, I'm going to have to say, and it's at home at Steel Canyon, that's going to add an additional factor. I'm going to take the Steel Canyon Cougars 21-7.
I'm going to double it up on you, Dave. I'm going to say I'm going to go maybe. How about I'm going to go 42-21, 35-21. Let's give it a little bit conservative. I might be a little bit more. The computers basically have by about 4 touchdowns. I think El Capitan can keep it within 3 or less. We don't even know anymore if the Cougars are busting up Saturday morning Chinese buffets with all their returns. Remember, they used to go out and have a big Chinese buffet on Saturdays for every time they return to kick, and they do it practically every game. But again, we just don't know. We're not slighting the Cougars at all. They do get the least amount of coverage, it feels like, on East County sports, but just because they've just been uncooperative, quite frankly, down there. So, but I've got the Cougars rolling here in this one, probably by 3 touchdowns. All right, Dave, you were expressing, you watched it, Dave, the Honor Bowl last week. The Eagles, it was what you would call a bad loss. It's cost them not only the number one spot in the county, but they've fallen a couple notches. We rank them fourth. They've actually fallen, I believe, a little bit further in the UT media poll. I still think they're third in the computer ratings. Nonetheless, they've fallen from the top spot here behind Lincoln and Cathedral at least. We have San Marcos, I think, third with their top-notch quarterback among other stars that they have on the team. But Granite Hills here is going to be taking on Eastlake. It's not the Eastlake of past, that's for sure. And the Eagles here, Dave, are favored by the computers here by about, 5 or more touchdowns for sure.
Well, and that's the whole thing. It's not the same Eastlake team, and thank goodness for the Eagles' sake, they're not, because boy, I don't even want to say that the Eagles were playing so bad. I don't want to say that they were playing top-notch ball, but that team from Arizona, Perry, I will tell you what, give credit where credit's due. That quarterback had a pair of legs. He had an arm. They had a good running game. They had two that could carry him. I think number 11 looked like, he looked like a Tom Rathman type fullback, except for he was faster, in the backfield. So they lost to a good team, but it just seemed to me that they weren't ready for that caliber of a team. I just don't think they were ready. Because of that, I think that they're definitely going to take it out on Eastlake. One concern, I don't know if you noticed when you were watching the game, it seemed to me that Turner, that he was favoring his leg a little bit or an ankle. And it wasn't on every play, but I started rewinding and I looked at it, and it just didn't seem like he was making those power runs like he usually does, and it was not noticeable enough for everybody else to see. But I started noticing it was a little tender, but knowing Max, he's going to be just fine, and he's going to that's going to be exactly the formula against Eastlake, is going to be run, and then pound the ball and run some more. I think we'll be lucky to see, and this is just my guess, we'll be lucky to see probably 10 or 11 passes from Benitez. Because the running game is going to be so successful, I think. And in this one, I am going to take my Granite Hills Eagles to avenge that ugly loss. And I'm sure they had extra practice, and I'm sure that that defense is going to be solid, which they didn't play that bad either. They were just playing a very talented team. I'm going to say Granite Hills over this Eastlake team. I'm going to say Granite Hills 42-17.
I'm with you, Dave. I'll say the Eagles win it, maybe in the range of that 42-14, maybe even 49-14, something around there. Zach Benitez had a touchdown pass last week to Kyler Oberg, the former West Hills High player. Our story may have had it incorrect. I'll fix that here tonight. Also, right now, Parker Vance, 2 more interceptions. He's one of the best defenders, certainly in the league statistically. We know he's one of the best defenders overall there. But, of course, you were talking about Cale Snyder of Perry, right? They're doing that incredible job. And we did see Braden Lewis was the sportsmanship award winner at that very important event, even though the Eagles were on the losing end of the game. I think maybe Turner, Dave, just might have been suffering from a little bit of, I don't want to go back to what Coach Carberry was saying, but maybe just a little bit of the, like a Mickey Rivers type syndrome. He carried the ball 32 times for 195 yards. So maybe just out of fatigue there. I didn't really note whether there was we'll see if there was any kind of injury. I don't want to speculate on something like that necessarily, but certainly the Eagles were up. They shouldn't have lost that game, Dave, even on a neutral field. They were expected to win. Perry's a very, very good team, no doubt about it. And quite frankly, the thing that did alarm me was that Perry to me did look stronger, faster. I don't remember, what's the Daft Punk song? Better, faster, stronger than the Eagles, at least for one day.
Yeah, and there just wasn't an answer. That's the first game that I've seen that Coach Cobbs just didn't have an answer, even on defense. They just had it all, especially on offense. I mean, it reminded me of a bigger Tom Brady just standing back there, surveying the field. Maybe I'll go here. Maybe I'll go there. No, you know what? They're covered. I'll just run 20 yards and go out of bounds.
All right, yeah, and Eastlake, they've been shuffling quarterbacks in and out so far this season, Dave, and they only have one running back so far over 100 yards in 3 games. So there might be down considering where they've been here of late. This over their success here. They did beat Bonita Vista in a season opening win and then lost to tough teams, no doubt here of late, Capistrano Valley and Del Norte, who has been one of the fast risers this season in San Diego County. We have Del Norte in our poll ranked 12th here right now. I believe we might have them higher than the media poll and the ratings, but nonetheless, they're still a top 20, if not top 15 team. So we got the Eagles to roll here in this one. Let's stay in the top 5, I guess we could say right now, right behind the Granite Hills Eagles, Grossmont Hills League rival or competitor here at this point. I can't call them rivals too much yet until they start playing each other, but I don't know. Again, here we have the Matadors, maybe East County bias, Dave. We have them top 5 in the media poll. They're a little lower, and in the ratings they're even lower than that, but that's because they got to kind of catch up in those Max Preps legacy ratings, I think, or however it works here. But the Matadors are going to be in for a great one here against Bishops, man. This sounds like another high-scoring tilt, kind of. I said that last week in the game there, Dave, for the Matadors in their meeting with La Jolla Country Day. I will say this, the Matadors, they're saying that they're not even playing their best here at this point. This week on social media, the 3-0 Matadors were complaining about the officiating, about a 7-yard, what looked to be a clerical error there with a spot in the game. Now, but La Jolla Country Day was coming back. It was at a key time in the game. Still, the Matadors looked pretty good in their game. A.J. Stowers had 203 yards passing in the game. Also, some big plays from Dom Diarcos, Jaden Hunter as well had some spectacular plays. Malachi Jackson and Dominic Lopez led the defense. Paris Vernon had a great touchdown run in that one. A funny play came down when A.J. Logan caught a pass, 48 yards. It looked like he was heading for a 50-yard touchdown. He got the ball stripped from him, but then speedster Brandon Arrington was right there to pick it up and run it in 2 yards. Stowers also had a 21-yard rushing touchdown in that one. They led throughout, although it did get as close as 28-21. Dave, La Jolla Country Day failed to recover an onside kick. That's when Vernon went in and scored his last second touchdown. So the Matadors aren't happy with the officiating. I'm pretty happy with the Matadors, though, at 3-0.
Well, let's not forget who played Bishops in the East County last, and that was none other than the Christian Patriots. and they kept pace for starters, and then their starter went down, but that was towards the end of the game, so that really didn't have such an effect. But we also know that Christian playing a Mount McGill team would be a lot different too. I think they had a better chance of beating Bishops for sure. With that being said, and the way that Christian played in that game, and I think definitely, no offense to Christian, but because they are the Mount McGill Matadors that are not your same Matadors from 3 years ago, I think they are in a mission, and I honestly think their mission is they want to play Granite Hills, and they want to play Granite Hills tomorrow, and that's the ultimate goal. However, they have many games before that, and I am going to say the Matadors, even though they're on the road, I'm going to say Mount McGill 32 and Bishops 10.
I have the Matadors finding a way, I think, to get this one. The more you complain about the officiating, the worse the call, the more the calls are going to go against you. That's what I find the case to be. They actually think that they said that they think the officials are actually, I want to paraphrase, out to get them. They don't think they're getting a fair shake over at Mount McGill. I mean, that is just, it's a bit embarrassing actually to say something like that, I would think, but they're standing behind it. Here you have a Bishops team. You mentioned the Christian game. They also played a top-notch opponent in a loss to La Jolla in the Battle of La Jolla there. So they played a tough schedule. I think the Matadors can find a way here. They, like I said, they ended up looking pretty impressive against Country Day. They got out to a big lead. Country Day kind of came back. So you're playing the two La Jolla teams, good teams here too, because Country Day is right up there at 2-1, ranked 18th here this week. We've got Bishops also highly ranked here at this point of the season. Bishops comes in, right up there at this time of the year. The 1-1 doesn't help them at all. They're not inside our top 25, but they do have a higher rating, I think, with the computer rating. So I've got Mount McGill to edge them out here, Dave, 35-31. And Matadors can get this win, but I have a feeling it may go down like it did last week. And here it is again on the road where, maybe welcome to football. You might have some calls go against you here. They don't make coaches or officials drive, 40 miles to a game if they don't have to, 30 miles or whatever. So no problem. Well, it could be one of the best games of the weekend for sure.
Well, and I don't think we should be, no offense to the Matadors or the coaching staff or the players, but I think worrying about the yellow laundry laying on the grass, I don't think that should be the top of our list. Just ask Phillip Rivers how often, and no offense to your guy, he was a great player, he was a great quarterback, but he also, dadgummit, he was always whining, and you know what ended up happening? He would just keep getting flagged because he wouldn't quiet down. So it's not going to help you. You just play the game, and you play it to the best of your ability. Mount McGill's still going to win. Let's ignore the flags. And you know what? If we get flagged, let's go out there and let's make them pay. But let's make them pay and play it the right way. That's all I got to say. I just may.
All right, Dave, the Helix Highlanders look more like the Helix Highlanders this past week with a victory here over Saints last week. I think that was kind of big, but Saints, they're falling rapidly here as they try to talked about it as a game of two teams in the same position last week, as both were 0-2, looking for a win, but Helix limited the Saints to 210 yards in a 28-13 win at Douglas Stadium. Pablo Jackson had 158 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it was Highlander Junior quarterback Jerome Stevens passing for 2 touchdowns in the game. Helix sophomore Braylon Ross hauled in a 26-yard score from Stevens that made it 28-13. Also for Helix, the defense was led by Gabe Giordano, our good friend. We talked to him earlier. He had 12 tackles. Jordan Lindley had 13 total stops and a couple of sacks for Helix. Jeremy Davis, quite a story. This young man overcoming a lot. He caught a 9-yard touchdown pass from Stevens, who went 13 of 17 for 125 yards, Dave. Harlem Harris also had 5 catches, 52 yards. We talked to him earlier this year. Helix over Saints. They've now won 5 of the last 6 meetings against Saints. And going up against, I should mention, against Madison here. Madison just 1-2, but I'd say don't slight the Warhawks at this point.
Well, Madison went to, 2 weeks ago, they went to Steel Canyon, and they did a little damage over there, but what it was is they won the turnover battle. I think the same thing should apply with this Helix game, and I think Helix playing at home, they do have the advantage there. We still don't have a status, and you mentioned a boot that Lester was wearing last game.
Yeah, Dave, Stevens played the whole game. He was the one that got these Scotties on the win column this past week.
So we definitely can assume Stevens will be out there. And
I cannot tell you for sure.
And then we got a couple of speedy guys on the team too, but I think Madison, the only reason they stole that game from Steel Canyon was they turned the ball. I think they beat themselves, really. So my advice to the Highlanders: hold on to that ball, do not turn the ball over, and maybe cause some turnovers on defense. Shorten your field, and let Stevens do the rest. I'm going to say. I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say your Highlanders, and I'm going to say 28-20.
I've got it close, Dave, as well. Maybe even closer. I'm going to go somewhere maybe a little bit low. Maybe I'll call it 24-20, 24-21, right in there. Helix. I'm going to take Helix here. They're higher power rated. I think they still might be a little overrated, and Helix and Madison might be a little underrated. Helix can grow, they're Helix, so they should improve. I just don't know if that's what they've shown right now. We have them as 13th. I think they're actually a little higher by the computers and the pollsters. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on the Highlanders here, but still think Madison, I'm only having this low because of 2 losses so far this season, but they have a Logo at quarterback. He's thrown for 500 yards so far this season, and Jackson is their top man, the coach's son here. So far this season, Ryan Jackson, 10 receptions and 4 touchdowns for Madison. But I'm going to take the Highlanders at home here. Go ahead, Dave.
Who were there? I'm trying to get it to go. It's freezing up. Who were the 2 Who did they lose to twice?
They lost to Foothill of Santa Ana, and they lost to the La Jolla Vikings 23-3 last week in La Jolla.
And La Jolla is supposed to be top notch, so.
Yeah, I think Madison comes in here and plays very, very tough. This game may likely be in the balance late in the 4th quarter, quite frankly. All right, Dave, we both made our pick. Unless you got anything else, I'm going to move on to a matchup we kind of talked about already to a certain extent. Dave, this week when we interviewed the Christian Patriots following their win last week. Dave, we said, look out, look who's coming to town. It's your old rivals, the Santa Fe Christian Eagles here. So I don't think Christian is going to be accused of overlooking this team, because every year this is kind of the featured non-league matchup every year for the Patriots.
Well, and they are. Oh, it looks like you're playing at Valley Stadium. I think that's a small step in the right direction. I think this is one of those games, though. I think Christian has more talent, and I think they are a faster team, and they have more. I still think they have a little more experience than Santa Fe Christian, but because they know each other so well, that one's a real tough one to pick. It could go either way, and Santa Fe Christian, they lead the series, correct?
Whoa, now you got me, Dave. I'll have to research this one. These teams have played a lot, Dave. So I'd have to go into the archives a little bit to give you a series history here. But
in the last
election, the road team always does pretty well, quite frankly. We've seen upsets from both teams over the last couple of seasons when these two teams have met, actually, Dave.
Yeah, because I saw them play. I want to say they played one of the years. I think Coach Mitchell was coaching them.
Christian won last year on the road, 17-14. The year before that, Santa Fe Christian won at home, 20-14. Christian was at home and lost. That's what 20-14. So you can see the road team won the last two. In 2021 under Mitchell, that game was played at La Costa Canyon, final there, 28-15 in favor of Santa Fe Christian.
Why? Wonder why they played it at La Costa Canyon. It must have been a scheduling thing. So let's see. Trying to see.
I could talk more if you want while you're contemplating.
Oh, I was just trying to see.
Nobody wants that.
Who did Santa Fe lose to?
In this, you mean in this year's schedule?
Yes.
So far? So Santa Fe Christian so far, Dave, and their 3 games, we have them ranked 20th currently in the East County poll, the top 25. Santa Fe Christian beat Mission High of San Luis Obispo in its opener 24-0 before losing to Oceanside 26-14 at home, and then last week they rolled Orange Glen on the road 63-0.
That's right. That's the one I knew there was a big score.
We didn't tell the Patriots because we didn't want to intimidate them. Not that they're going to be intimidated by this team. Like I said, they faced them before. It's just that the last year, 17. What did I say? It was 17-14. The Patriots won last year, right?
Yeah, and I think they're going to do exactly what Moronis was talking about, along with the other Jake, the Icors. I think they're going to be expecting run because it did work for them so well against Mission Bay, and I mean, the obvious thing to do is it's going to be a mixture. And I think that Bug's got a completely opposite playbook going. He's not going to just go out there and start running the ball and pounding it down their throat. I wouldn't be surprised if he tests Wilkins, and we still don't know. I mean, Spencer might be in there. That can change the whole aspect of things too. So they actually Santa Fe Christian doesn't know what they're getting. So it's kind of a little surprise. And with that being said, Christian advantage and advantage playing at Valley Stadium, and I just think they're a better team. So I am going to go with my Patriots, and I want to say I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game this time around, but I think we're looking more like a 23-20 Christian.
All right, Dave, I'll take the Patriots too, just because they were so impressive against Mission Bay in a game that we picked them to win. Maybe they were expected to win, but I don't know if we picked them by 41 points. Jaden Wilkins was terrific, right? When you're a Christian high quarterback, it comes with a certain set of expectations. We always know that they're going to kind of be quarterback oriented. So he had 210 yards and 3 touchdown passes, and that was quite frankly the best. Spencer Johnson did a great job in that. We talked to him in that first win, incredible performance. But Wilkins was 18 of 23 in the game here last week. And Moronis, you mentioned it, Dave, 130 yards and 21 carries and 2 scores. So Marsh had a touchdown reception. Roman Gustin caught a touchdown pass. You guys were trying to tell me all the guys that were scoring touchdowns. I couldn't even keep up. Kai Rozier had a touchdown, and Hank Houston, of course, he had that touchdown, that defensive touchdown. You guys, he had forced the fumble, and Max Turvey ran it in last week. Houston also had a rushing touchdown. I thought it was Brady Eads that scored, and you guys, what I saw on the video highlight, Eads actually took a direct snap and gave it to Houston at the time. Wilkins wasn't even in the game when they got that short run. So in this one, Dave, I'll take the Patriots to edge them just because they look so impressive beating Mission Bay. But again, Santa Fe Christian, we have them ranked here on our poll, but we don't have Christian ranked at this point. That might change if the Patriots win this one, even at home. I'll take the Patriots here, maybe 21-19, 21-20. It's close. As always, it seems like between these two teams.
Well, and Wilkins, I think the best way to get it out of your system, what's the first play? He threw a pick. But at the same time, I would rather throw the pick to start the game and get it out of your system, and then from there, shoot, he was throwing some pretty darn good darts to his receivers, and don't get me wrong, the running game was quite nice, and also not just Jake, but the whole offensive line was blocking very well and creating holes, and not to mention giving Wilkins some great protection. So they give that much protection, whoever is back there. Again, I'm taking Christian.
I'll take them too. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough game. You get the same Santa Fe Christian as usual. They're going to run at a 3 or 4 to 1 clip over passing here. Their quarterback is a sophomore. So let's go Patriots. Let's win this one. All right, Dave. Right now, the Santana Sultans, Dave, are, in my opinion, the team that has moved to the forefront in the Grossmont Valley League projections, if you will, just the way they're playing right now. You look at El Cap, they've struggled a little bit here of late. West Hills, they did get on the board with a win, but Santana's look so good. I'm just going to put them with the edge right now at the top of the Valley League, just to say that maybe they're playing a little better than those other two rivals. I still think all three are really close, actually. But Santana will go on the road here and take on Olympian in a game maybe that still could be rated pretty close, but we've seen Olympian play our teams so far this season. For Santana last week, just a pretty staunch performance, certainly in their game to get that win. They rolled up the yardage in that game last week against Hilltop. Dave, was Allman. He had another big night, Dave. 210 yards rushing. The Sultans rushed for 339 yards on the ground. It was sophomore quarterback Ethan Miller taking the snaps this week. He was 8 for 10, including a 78-yard touchdown pass to sophomore Denton Gore, who is really starting to make some people take note. The Sultans have a lot of young talent, including rising freshman defensive star Julian Mayers, who had a sack in the third quarter. He also rushed for a touchdown. Hilltop trailed just 17-14, but Santana scored the final 20 points of the game. Also want to mention Junior Grant Johnson booted a 32-yard field goal in that one. And Hallman, Dave, we were trying to get on the air last Friday night. I go, Dave, there goes the Sultans again. There goes Jaden. He's on a 70-yard. It was 73 yards that he ran another touchdown. Also, Brady Rotel had an interception last week. Aiden Thornton led the Sultans with 9 tackles. Mayers finished with 7 stops. So a great job by the Sultans. This will still be a little bit of a tough game, but from what I've seen from Olympian, an East County team should win this on the road.
Yep, and I'm going to tell you exactly why, because, and don't get me wrong, they are up in division also, but the Foothillers literally destroyed Olympian after that crazy game against Patrick Henry. They took it all out on Olympian, and boy, Tommy was just throwing the ball like a true pro, just spirals, and that was that game that Noah had, I think, 3 touchdowns possibly that evening. So with that being said, let's not forget. Do you remember what Coach Estes said at the beginning of the year for our preview? He said, and it's anybody's league, but he was leaning his own way. He said, we are very capable of beating everybody in our league. Now, with that being said, and we'll be getting to them next, everybody's forgetting about those orange guys, those Valhalla Norsemen, and we'll be getting to them soon. So let's not forget about them. But Santana is on a good run. They do have a impressive defense. I think they have a great balance. They even have a great special teams. So I'm going to say Olympian. They do have to come to you, but I think the Sultans are definitely going to be. You guys are going to be in dire straits, and they're going to be the Sultans of swing. So I'm going to say Santana. Santana 21-7.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Sultans here. I think they will get around 21, maybe 24, but I'm going to give Olympian a little bit of credit. They do pass and run at a pretty equal margin here so far this season with 75 rushes and 70 pass attempts. They've got a couple of running backs are around 150 yards each so far in the 3 games. They've got a couple receivers, one big play receiver. We mentioned Vaccaro earlier this season, and he's got over 200 yards receiving in 3 games. They also have another receiver with double digits with 11 receptions. I'm going to say the Sultans win this one 24-20, 24-21, 23-21, somewhere right in there. Sultans get the win in the low 20s and get this win on the road.
Do we know I forgot to ask Coach that, and I had it written down to ask him. Do we know why the freshman was pulled from behind center?
No, just going off the stats, sir. We haven't talked to the Sultans yet about their moves at quarterback.
Huh? I did. It's my fault. I just because I just did one of these, and I didn't see him on there, and I don't think I remember him getting injured the week before, but it is what it is. And by the way, let's not forget, folks, before we go to our next one, the Foothillers have a bye.
Foothillers have a bye, so I'm glad you threw them in there a little bit. I didn't know if you needed to talk about them. We can hash it up with the Foothillers in the next game that they play. But that certainly was one of the games of the week when they surprised with that comeback here last week. Touchdown, 32-28, the two-score sequence in the last 141 of the game. A great performance, especially by Parker Vanderberg. You mentioned Tommy Donovan as well, but Vanderberg, 10 receptions, 133 yards in that one. So they'll face Otay Ranch in their next game. Donovan now has 15 touchdown passes so far this season. Okay, but credit to the Sultans. Don't want to get off track there. We'll talk about Grossmont again, but you wanted to talk about I don't know, Dave. We could say, what is the biggest story in East County football? Okay, Eagles lost. We know they're great. They're a big story every week, but Helix is down. Mount Miguel, they're doing what we expected so far. I think the Valhalla Norsemen now, Dave, they were 2-1 last year too, but it feels a little bit different this time around right now with this team, especially with our new man, Jackson Newman here, Dave. He had a big night, 257 yards on 13 of 20 passing. He had big gainers. I credit him with 257 yards. The actual Valhalla statistics, I believe, had him at 187, but two of the plays, don't want to, if you guys are scoring differently at home, I saw a shovel pass. That ball, even behind the line of scrimmage, if you just pitch it forward 1 foot, 2 feet, that's a pass. And he did it twice to Joshua Armstrong for 58 yards on a couple of completions. And the Cougars had no idea what was going on for those big plays. So it was a big day for Valhalla beating San Ysidro 21-14. I just mentioned it was a big day because it was a fun, spectacular game. The Norsemen kept leading. They led 7-0. Lorenzo Matos, Paul Sacco, they had touchdown passes, but it was Jackson Newman and Anderson Turner, really maybe the hottest passing combination right now in the East County. They connected with each other several times in the game. Senior Marcus McHale, it was 7 receptions, as a matter of fact, for Turner, who also handles the kicking duties, one of the better kickers in the East County, it looks like.
Marcus had that score towards the end of the game.
7 minutes left, Dave, to get that win. Norseman had 392 yards of total offense. Newman basically responsible for 314 of it. He also ran for 57 yards. Also, Zach Hager had another sack, and Junior Ahmed Husseini also had a sack in this one. He had 9 total tackles, as did Giacomo Lupo. So the Norsemen here, probably the computers are torn on this one. One computer, I think both of them have Valhalla, actually. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm looking at this team and really they have another year at least, and they're going to have they get their quarterback back next year, and quite a few of these players that are scoring. So this could be the build-up year, and this could be leading to something really big next year for the Norsemen. But it's early in the season. As we all know, injuries play a big factor in every level of football. But, man, I had to – my eyes were glued for a little bit watching the Valhalla game. I would like to see Orange Nation back as far as
they're back, man. Orange
no.
Rush defense.
No, I wanted to see them back there with Mr. Owens in there, and
we got and as long as they're in FHS cameras, I don't want to trouble them. They're busy, man.
anyhow, for the first time, you know me, I haven't been given credit to the Norsemen for years, but I think this is the team, sir. I think that this isn't going to be the same old Valhalla, kind of like what El Cajon had to hear for years.
Can they beat West Hills? Can they beat Santana? Can they beat El Cap? Any one, two of those teams at all? You put them in this race?
I think they can, sir, and I'm saying it right now.
Awesome.
So in Southwest, they got one game on the season, and who was the one they defeated?
Well, they've won two so far. Do I have the wrong record up there? Let me take a look here. No, I just have their record wrong here. Actually, I think Dave. They beat Mountain Empire and they beat Tri-City Christian last week. Sorry about that, brother. They are right now with a 2-1 record here coming into this one. They also lost to Hoover 58-35 on the road.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't impress me, and that even shifts me even more towards the Norsemen. I am going to call it out that I think that it is going to be Newman probably throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns. So I'm going to say 35-17.
I'm with you right in there somewhere. Maybe it'll be 35, 28, 31, 35, right in there. I'm thinking they can get three touchdowns for sure, maybe 4. I'm going to give Southwest a little bit of credit. I'll go maybe 28-21 Valhalla. Here is what I think I'm going to end up doing. Valhalla to get this win. The one computer has it decidedly Valhalla. The other one has it kind of a pick 'em here. I haven't really seen that big of a discrepancy between the computers here necessarily. But this is more of a passing team with Southwest and their sophomore quarterback who has 750 yards and 9 touchdowns this season. They also have a running back averaging 8.5 yards of carry with 238 yards rushing this season. So also they have a receiver with 24 receptions in 3 games. So I will take Valhalla. They should win this one. Is on the road down here. They're playing Southwest Raiders of San Diego. Maybe the computers got the wrong Southwest here in their calculations. Anyways, we like Valhalla in this one. All right. Next up, Dave. Well, we said it. You get a West Hills team against another team that's basically won just a couple of games over the last 2 years. So West Hills was able to get that win over Vista in pretty impressive fashion. They ran right over Vista, quite frankly, in the game, Dave, with outside of that pandemic season, West Hills had not started 0-3. You were quizzing me whether these guys started 0-3 as well. But, man, they looked focused in that game, thumping Vista Friday night. Ryder Alexander opened the scoring with a touchdown run. Preston Cortez with a black punt that set up another touchdown. Aiden Kidwell made it 14-0 on a reception from Braden DeAngelis, who made his first start of the season. He passed for 141 yards on 7 of 12 throws as the West Hills quarterback. They also had a big 51-yard play. I described it as a touchdown on the last show, but I think he was actually caught at the 1-yard line. He did have an earlier touchdown in the game, he had a run down to the 2-yard line that they eventually crashed in on. They got a penalty, but Edgar Leon, the senior, scored a touchdown. Rosalino had a short pass, and he raced into the end zone for a 21-0 lead. Junior Ray Garcia had an interception for the Wolfpack. Senior Marshawn Mitchell, senior Christian Parker recorded sacks for the Wolfpack. Also want to mention Dave, just because I want to say his name. West Hills, we know they have a tradition of a strong kicking game. I show Christian Slokowski. I want to say it's Slokowski here. He's averaging 41.7 yards a punt this season, which would qualify as the top average in the East County. So West Hills here against Morris, and we've seen Morris play our East County team already this season. Last week. We just mentioned it. Yeah, the Patriots. Patriot game.
Yeah, you're talking about the other page, Patrick Henry, correct?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought didn't Christian? No. Who just played Morris? God, I'm sorry, Dave. Let me get that for you. Unless you want to just extrapolate on this, I think I just called out the wrong.
I believe
Morris, I know we played Morris, right?
It was Steel Canyon, wasn't it?
Oh, that's what it was. That's right. It was Steel Canyon last week. 49.
Yeah, they roughed them up pretty bad.
Thank you. And you thought I was perfect.
I don't even know how I remember it. Let's see.
Talked about it 10 minutes ago. That's how I forgot. Anyway, Dave, West Hills is going to be expected to win this game. Dave, they are going to be about a touchdown favorite or so, I'd say.
Watching Hamilton in action too, I gotta say he really is impressive, and he's not the tall, lengthy type of quarterback.
He wasn't the quarterback last game.
And what is it with that this year?
No, Braden. I'm showing Braden DeAngelis as the quarterback in last week's game. Coach Ash had sent the statistics over. That's what it appeared there, and I believe it was also described that way in the video highlights.
I was gonna ask. Well, you'll have them faster than I have them. So he played the whole game, correct?
Yes.
Huh. Well, I guess he might be the new dude then. Either way, seeing some of those highlights too, that looked like a West Hills team of past. I got to see the last time the West Hills Wolfpack were really good, which was in 2022, and you remember that team. But then they went up to Ramona and made everybody very sad. After that was an undefeated season, correct?
Which year was that, Dave?
2022 for the Pack.
In 22, the Pack was they went 4-2 in league. Let me see here. So they were 6-5.
Was it the year before that? I know they were.
The year before that was the undefeated league season.
And they went up to Ramona and it just they didn't have fun.
No, got shut out.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I remember now.
I thought that it was anyhow. This one here, I'm gonna have to. I mean, Morse kept up with Steele for a bit, but I think you had the exact quote I'm thinking about right now. Which Morse team are you going to get is really what's going to depend on whether West Hills overcomes. They do have some speedy receivers on their team. But like you said, I think West Hills had. Did you say they had 3 or 4 games straight at home?
Right now, West Hills at this point, they're going to come into this one. Of course, the last game was a home game against Vista. This is a home game against Morris. The schedule also says a home game next week against Patrick Henry, and they are coming off consecutive home games here, having lost that game to University City 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So I am. Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Morse, and I'm gonna say they're gonna eke one out, and it's gonna be a close one, and I'm gonna say 17-14 Morse.
The Tigers have their workhorse back in Superior Garor. They do run at about a 2-to-1 ratio right now. Really, they're only completing about 40% of their passes. I'm going to take the Wolfpack here to win this one by, at least 3, maybe in the 21-14, 21-17 range here in this one. And maybe it could be a little bit more high score, 24-21, something like that. I'm going to take the Wolfpack here to win this one. All right, Dave, next up, we talked about it a little bit here with Coastal Academy, a team that's 3-0, but maybe a little bit up in class here, going against our Monta Vista Monarchs in this one. The Monarchs, Dave, really are in unprecedented territory. Yeah, they have 2 losses here, but they just scored at least 35 points in consecutive weeks for the first time since the pandemic, and 35 points in each of the last 2 games. They scored 35 against Castle Park on Friday night in the victory. Alex Villanueva, he is one of the most unheralded backs in the county, 185 yards and 3 touchdowns in that one. Monarchs, we talked to him after, talked about it last week, Dave, with him, right? Coming off that game, we quizzed him a little bit because of the loss to Kearney and how that felt. Well, they came out big time and ended up smacking Castle Park around. We had him certainly on the show after the game. That was pretty awesome here as well. They had touchdowns also from Mohab Akhte and Dupree Flinoid here in the box score anyway. I think I might have actually called it wrong on the show last week, so apologize there. I was going off of the my eyes, I think. So I think we got it straight there, though. But they are at home here against Coastal Academy, and they are favored to win this one, Dave, the Monarchs.
And I did steal your line that you were talking about before, because I even had to go look for myself after you mentioned it, and we refer to him, Kasim, as our correspondent for the Monta Vista Monarchs, and I had to go look at the play where he sealed off that seam, and and man, just what a beauty of a play, and then just enough space for him to get through there. And Villanueva was he was eating them Castle Park for lunch. I mean, they didn't have an answer for him. That's just the bottom line. I think the Monarchs defense showed up. They really looked like a typically Hamamoto coached Monarch team that wins ball games, and they're not always pretty. They're not always the most exciting all the time. But from what our correspondent and his co-host said, I guess their starting quarterback possibly next week, that they actually take quite a few snaps during practice, and do actually throw the ball quite often. So I don't know if that's the case, but that is what we were told. And who knows? Maybe this kid is going to work out, and we still hope that was it Bean? I think the starter. We're still hoping that you heal up quickly, but it's nice to know that you do have somebody that you can count on. But we all know that the secret to Monta Vista is a solid running game with a great line, and that is exactly how they are going to defeat give the first defeat to Coastal Academy, and they are going to be beat in front of their fans. And I am going to say Monte Vista 42, Coastal Academy 14.
Yeah, I'm going to go right around. Maybe I'll tone it down a little bit, maybe give this Coastal team a little respect, but they played a pretty weak schedule so far. They played also southwest of El Centro in their last win and a couple of out of section smaller school opponents. So I also am going to take the Monarchs here, probably in the range of 35-21 or so at home to get the win. Coastal Academy runs at a 3-to-1 ratio. They have 3 running backs over 150 yards so far this season. They've thrown for 175 yards total in the 3 games so far. So I'm going to take the Monarchs here also by at least a couple of touchdowns.
And Coach is right there behind you, smiling about it anyway, about his Monarchs, and even at the top. So the former coach, the former great anyhow. So yeah, I definitely think the Monarchs have the juju on their side.
All right, Dave, the Elkhorn Valley Braves going to take on the Hopeville Vikings. Hopeville's coming off a huge roll of victory here last week. Let me just, I'm trying to find a way to just at least talk about this game. You have Elkhorn Valley, they're scoreless so far after 3 games this season. Meanwhile, you do have a Hopeville team here that comes in having outscored their opponents 164-7. So the Braves have been outscored 115-0. Holtville has outscored its opponents 164-7. I do want to shout out Elkhorn Valley star players, including freshman quarterback Edwin Carmona, who had 65 yards of total offense last week. Also, junior Vav Mossman had a couple of receptions and an interception. Senior Fabian Carmona, we talked to the Carmona brothers, of course, before the season. He did have 11 tackles in last week's game. John Veer Kashindi had a sack and forced a fumble last week in the game there for the Braves. They lost to Vincent Memorial, and Holtville beat Mountain Empire. Remember, Dave, 54-0.
I watched almost the entire game on and off, and
I feel bad for you.
I feel bad for anybody. I enjoyed the announcers probably more than the game, to be quite honest. But I think the best play of the day was, like I said, it was Chris Jones or Chris James. He had a 12-yard run, and that was on a running clock at the end of the 4th quarter. Other than that kid Cuevas I was telling you about that plays quarterback for Hopeville. Watch out for that guy, because he's going to light that secondary up like nobody's business. I hope you guys, I'm hoping that the Braves pull the miracle off, but I'm just saying, guys, you better be on your A game, because this is one tough team, and they have a lot of weapons, and I do mean tons of them. Big dudes that they had a really, I don't know if he's a tight end or a wide receiver. He might be a wide receiver, but he's a big kid, number 85. Oh my goodness. One-handed catches. I mean, it was just, if you were into Hopeville, let me tell you, they were something else to watch. So yeah, I'm going to say, unfortunately, I love my Braves, but I'm going to have to take Hopeville 30-3.
All right, yeah, I'm right there. I'll just be a little bit maybe conservative. I'll go 42-7. Could be higher. Hopefully, the Braves will get a touchdown.
I want them to make it into in the end zone.
Yeah. Hopefully, they'll make some progress and get a score here. Hopeville, maybe they could, give the Braves a little bit of space to work on their game a little bit here. They are at home. Maybe they get some other players into the game. They don't have a lot of players. These desert teams, Dave, have been really impressive from the Imperial Valley this year. They dot the ratings here. If you look at some of these teams right now, we'll talk about another one here in just a moment. But you have Central Union, they're 17th in our poll at 3-0. You got Brawley 2-0. You've got also Imperial 3-0, and you got this Holtville squad at 3-0 from the Imperial Valley. So you mentioned I'll take Holtville. As I said, we both have Holtville here. We'll win, but the El Cajon Valley Braves, they played the Crawford Colts. You kind of see the comparisons here, Dave. Talking about El Cajon lost to Crawford 31-0. You got Holtville playing the Braves this week. You have Holtville beating up Mountain Empire. You see what I'm saying here with these teams kind of roundabout? And here's Crawford going to play Mountain Empire in another one-sided game, certainly for the Colts coming in here. They'll probably be a good 5 or 6 touchdown favorite or more in this one against Mountain Empire. One thing, Dave, though, that I was able to find out about the Red Hawks. So we, of course, always expecting a little more, but Isaac Gonzalez has actually missed the last 2 games. I mentioned after the first game that Gonzalez probably is on pace. He probably still is to be the all-time one of the all-time leaders in rushing yards, because he's been doing it for since he was a freshman. He can't afford to miss too much time if he wants to keep it up, but he's had such big games. But now with Mountain Empire not as successful, it does make it a little bit tougher on the junior star, but he has missed 2 straight games here coming into this one, and you're going up against a Crawford team that's pretty darn good, no doubt about it.
And
Crawford is over the Braves and Mar Vista. They lost to that La Jolla Country Day team, who's very good, 26-6. Go ahead.
And the Mountain Empire team, which I was matching up to what the announcer said last week. Mountain Empire, very junior heavy, not too many freshmen or sophomores. And it's always they're kind of like Monte Vista, very short. They don't have quite that many to pick from. I don't even know if they have. I saw a JV team in there. So with that being said, I don't know. That's a tall order for Mountain Empire to beat Crawford, but I think if they have a good game plan, I think they could score 7 points. But I think the Colts will pretty much they'll dominate Mountain Empire. It's Mountain Empire was competitive for a good 5-6 years at Division 5, but and then our good friend Bernard, his kid graduated. I was fortunate enough to watch his son play basketball too at my old junior high school. That was right down the street. That was a treat. But good people that came down from Mountain Empire. I do wish that they would win this game, but I'm definitely going to take Crawford 28-7.
All right, and I'll agree with you, Dave. I'll take Crawford to win this one, maybe in the range of 42-7, 42-6.
How about your Foothills?
Yeah, okay, sure. Let me get to this week. This might be the coverage of Foothills Christian here this week. They're 2-1 following a win over Pal Academy last week. The Knights ran for 255 yards. They only threw the ball once in their win in last week's ball game against Pal Academy, 57-0. Pal Academy of San Bernardino. So the Foothills Christian Knights will beat teams that they can beat. This might not be one of them actually here this week. You got a Sage Creek team here as currently, I want to make sure they're only 1-0 here right now, but I believe that I'm sorry, not Sage Creek, it was Sage Hill, Dave. Sage Creek plays 8-man here, but this is Sage Hill, if I may, Sage Hill of Newport Beach. So I believe Sage Hill is expected to win this game. I don't know too much about them or this matchup, but I do know in the power ratings, I believe Sage Hill is probably about a 2-touchdown favorite here in this one, but they can't put anything by Foothills, and we don't hear from them. We don't really. I want to cover them, but they're just not into us. So we'll just watch the results on the Max Preps and
weren't they brothers? Wasn't there 2 brothers? I forget their last name. One of them would give us information on Foothills Christian football for a couple of years there.
I love it, man. I'd love to hear from them. I'd love to reach out to them and get some coverage for them.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know anybody over there. No, I don't. Quite frankly, we haven't spoken to Coach Mackey here in several years. Kind of maybe since they've been playing back in 8-man again. Just real tough to cover this team. You don't get a lot. They don't get a lot of video highlights or anything because it's 8-man. But it'd be really nice to cover them. But we do the best we can. I'm giving you some updates here right now on the team. Like I said last week, they ran all over this team. All they did was run the ball last week against this team, PAL Academy. Of course, before that, they lost to California School for the Deaf, who's going to be in a tough game this week. I do know that. And, of course, their first game was a forfeit, so we don't really know that much. This week, it was Ben Hernandez with 3 touchdown rushes, also a 25-yard touchdown pass in the game to Caleb Stigets. Also, it was Cameron Brown, still around. He's a senior, 83 yards and a touchdown. Jack Sudi, the junior, 1 carry, a 60-yard touchdown. Josh Hawkins, a junior, 51 yards and a touchdown. That's going to do it, Dave, for the East County Sports Report. We'll be with you again on Friday. Join us for the East County post game. It's going to be Dave and I trying to piece it together, whether or not the teams want to contact us or not. We'd like to report the statistics, maybe round up some interviews as fast as we can. But I don't know, Dave. It feels like we're losing a little momentum with our fans a little bit here.
I don't think so.
I'm down on it. We've got some great teams cooperating. We'll cover them like nobody's business for sure. The ones that are willing to work with us a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe they just don't like our style of coverage. Good luck with the other entities, but we thankful for right now our 60 live viewers. Appreciate that.
Well, and what I like to do too is, excuse me, I like to look the next day too, because some of these folks they're up late. Some of them working graveyard. Maybe they're working at the casino. I don't know what they're doing, but and I almost forgot to do that.
I just want to point out that's my X handle. If anybody wants to send me statistics after a game, observations, videos, if you want to be on the show, if you're a coach, a fan, I don't know about fans, but a coach, a player, I want you on. I want your stats. I want your information so that we can publicize you. We want to do that and share the great plays. We're not trying to hide anything here, even if there are some schools out there that don't want to highlight their players, don't want to feature their players, and they don't even want you to know who their players are. I'm going to be here with you, Dave, to report those that do want to be highlighted.
And just to put it out there, we do enjoy doing this. You can obviously see the time that we enjoy and giving a thorough report, which, by the way, is sponsored by our good friends at Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment. And I will tell you, they are great people, and they have helped us in a pinch, especially over Jake DeVilla's father. He doesn't even go to the school anymore, and he's helped us a little bit on some of the plays, if I don't get them, he sends them to me because he is still a Christian patriot.
I'm glad you're getting them because I honestly got very little out of the Patriot. We had to piece that one together too. I did anyway.
So, and anybody else, I don't want to say I'm beating a dead horse, but folks,
I watched FHS cameras. Some of the schools don't even have their cameras on. It makes it tougher for me to cover the games. But
we all have a phone.
Thank you very much. Some of them are very, very nice, actually.
We all have a phone, folks, and even if you send it just a handful, or even a 1 minute or 2 minute video of a scoring play or something you think would be spectacular, we'll go ahead and edit for you, give you the credit that you actually caught that action, and be very appreciative. And not to mention, you're helping out your friend, family member, whoever it may be, playing on that football field and busting their tail. But great night tonight. Ramon, a legend in community college football, joining us. It was a little bit of a battle to get him on, but we finally did some old school kind of a call-in show for our good friend Ed Carberry, the longtime Monta Vista / Southwestern College head coach. He's done so many big things. Said he actually told me he did turn 70 recently, and all the information, if you play this back, all the information that he remembers for being 70, I will tell you what, this guy loves football. He loves the kids, and I'm sure he's made a difference in all of their lives, and including mine and Ramon's as well. So, with that being said, we will see you tomorrow for the East County Sports Report post game show.
Friday. I don't think we have any games tomorrow. No, this week.
I'm sorry. I forgot that we didn't have a Thursday game.
This week, I don't think, unless they're, like I said, sometimes we don't know. We just don't know. They don't tell us.
We will erase that from tape, but for sure we will see you on Friday at 9:30. Hopefully, depends on how much action is still going on, because sometimes these games are a little slower than the other ones. But Ramon and I will gather as much information that we possibly can and get it to you as fast as we can. But for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens, and we truly appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you very much.
Good night.